Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast. I'm your host Ashwin. I'm joined by DJ. Let me start by quickly preemptively apologizing for audio quality this week. I am on some travels for the holidays, spending time with family, so I was not able to move around with my podcast mic. But we're dedicated. We're here. We're putting out episodes for you guys. So DJ, how are you feeling? I know you have a plane to catch in about 35, 40 minutes, or to leave for in about 35, 40 minutes. So we're gonna get this done, right?
Yeah, you've got to do it, right? Like your dedication on waking up on Christmas Eve at 7:45 a.m.
It
You've got
is
to
Christmas Eve,
yeah.
7:45 a.m. where I am. Yeah. So,
And our third co-podcaster is in Goa, so yeah, we didn't even bother to try and get him on.
I mean, I'm not sure if Christmas Eve at 8:15 p.m. in Goa is the time you want him to be on the show anyway. So
You'll get his
hopefully
best thoughts then.
we'll get his
That's the
best
part.
thought. All right, DJ. Lots have been happening in the world of cricket. Lots to cover actually. We're going to talk about the IPL auction summary. We're going to spend most of our time previewing the upcoming India South Africa Test match at the Centurion. But I have to start with what is just hot off the presses. India's women have just won their second test match in a row. How incredible is that? I mean, first England, now Australia. I think it's been our first ever win against the Australian women's side. So, A, huge congratulations. B, how are you feeling? I know you've been keeping up with a lot of the women's cricket that's been going on.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. 11 test matches, 11 tries they've had, and they haven't managed to do it. And this time they managed to do it. It's, I think, the first time since 1977, I read somewhere that India's beaten Australia. I mean, it's historic, right? But it was comprehensive. India's won by 8 wickets, and it was kind of nice because we batted first when we played England and put on a big score. This time, India batted second, was in a little bit of trouble at one point, and then you had a nice partnership between Deepthi and Vastrakar, actually, who's I think got a legitimate claim to being woman, or I guess player of the series, right? Like she's had a fantastic tournament, I would say, and so has Deepthi. So really great to see the Indian women pull off that win against, I mean, an Australian all-time great team, I would say, right? Like with the likes of Elise Perry and Talia McGrath was leading. I think she was captain this time. But you've got Ali Sahili may have been captain, but Talia was in there.
Yeah,
There's
Alyssa
lots
was
of
the new
like
captain. Yeah.
Beth Mooney, but there were some brain fade moments as well. Did you see the run out from
I
short
did.
leg?
Absolutely unbelievable. I'm surprised there was no warning given, and just sorry, it's too soon. It's probably too soon to make that. But yeah, incredible. I mean, brain moment,
Extraordinary. Beth
but
Mooney.
also a moment of genius in the field, right? Your field on field awareness is important. A lot of
Yeah, but what did
short
Beth Mooney think? That she was just having a net or like what?
unclear test cricket. Test cricket is so mentally grueling for that reason. You're out there for so long. Conditions can be hard. It's so. I mean, absolutely full credit. A test win is magnificent. So
And I love that the Indian women are playing Test cricket again. And it's back to Test cricket season. We've had the ODI World Cup, we've had T20 World Cups. India men is going to start playing Test cricket again. This is what we live for, man. Like 2 years ago, India was here in 21. Probably, I think, our greatest year ever in terms of Test cricket. Right? We had the Gabba in January on your birthday. We had the win at Lords with Kohli spraying himself with Theo on the balcony, and you had the win at the Oval, and then it ended with a win in South Africa. And 2 years later, we've gone full circle. So we're going to talk all that. But I'm super excited, man. I love Test cricket season. It is my favorite format of the game, and I can't wait to get into it with you.
and we are about to talk about in the men's side, but the only unconquered frontier. And if you're saying India hasn't beaten Australia on the women's side since the 70s, India has not beaten South Africa in the men's side ever in a test series, and in South Africa, and that is going to be a tremendous challenge. And so I'm really
And Dean
excited.
Elgar is retiring, and he was a big thorn in our flesh last time around, right?
Yeah, I mean he's playing the series, and
Yeah,
then he's
but
retiring.
after the series, yeah.
So it's going to be fascinating, very very interesting. DJ, before we get to the India versus South Africa test series, which is what most of you listening are here for, like you said, we live for, we do have to talk about the last time we got together. We were previewing the IPL 2024 auction. Obviously, since then, the auction has happened. We've had a couple of days of rants, let's call them, against our supported franchise, the Delhi Capitals, in our WhatsApp group, which thankfully most of our listeners don't have to see or deal with. But let me just start by asking you: overall kind of reaction to the auction, right? I think the headlines are anybody who can bowl quick seems to get a ton of money. Anybody who's got an Australian passport seems to get a ton of money. I mean, it's unbelievable. Some of the numbers are unbelievable. How did you feel?
So let's just start with the guy who was least interested in the auction got closest to the top pick.
Hmm.
Because Pat Cummins went for 20.5 crores, which at the time was
Yeah,
a record, right? But your pick, Hasaranga, who you said who thought would go for the top money, he was probably the best pick of the auction, which
1.6
allowed
million.
them, which it enabled the Sunrisers pick of Pat Cummins. He went for 1.5 crores, which was like shocking, and like you could see that the owners and the team management were high fiving each other on the table because they were like, they'd probably budgeted like 10 crore for
Yeah,
that guy,
probably at least 8 or 10. Yeah.
and they're like, we've got him for 1.5, so you can go big after the other players. Predictably, Daryl Mitchell, massive fight over that guy, including from the Delhi franchise. That we thought they should have gone big after him, but they kind of chickened out and he went to CSK to join Mid Santner. He went for, I think, 14 crores. Rachin Ravindra, I thought he actually went a little bit light.
So
Uh,
again, that's the thing, right? Hatsaranga and Rachin are spin bowling all round, right?
mm,
And
mm,
Daryl Mitchell, uh, quick is a hard word, but Pat Cummins obviously a quick bowler. And then
yeah.
the biggest dollar amount or rupee amount this IPL has ever seen came. You want to talk about 8 years? I think it's been 8 years away from the IPL.
It's a weird pick, though, man. Like, I get why
I
KKR
think
went
it's the
after him.
weirdest pick, but yeah,
I get why KKR went after him, and let's say he's a two-time World Cup winner. He's won the T20 World Cup. He's won the World Test Championship. He's a decorated bowler, but 24 crores for Mitchell Stark, unless they're going to bat him at three. I mean, like, what if he takes? Let's say he has a good season. He takes 24 wickets. You're paying him a crore per wicket.
that's a good way to say it. I saw some crazy numbers about even if he bowls his full quota of 4 overs, which is 20, yeah, 4 overs, which is
24
24
balls.
balls per match
Yeah.
times the however many matches they play. Even if they make the final, it is an obscene, like it's like 70,000 rupees a step or something he's going to take, assuming number of steps per run up. But it's obscene. It's an insane amount of money for a quick bowler. And no discredit to Stark, he had a good World Cup. He's a class bowler. But does he
Yeah.
deserve 24.7 crores? When you think about how much Bumrah makes, I don't even know what the number is because he hasn't
I
moved
think
to other
16 maybe.
16.
I think 16, yeah.
I mean,
I
you're
think
then
so.
implying Stark is worth 50% more than Bumrah, and I know that's not how market economics works because Bumrah has been at the same franchise for so long and stuff. But man, that seems wild. But anyway,
Yeah. Also, Travis Head, which was Varun's pick for the top pick, where he
yeah,
went for six.
also a steal.
Another spinning all rounder, I guess.
Yeah,
More batting than bowling,
yeah,
like Rachin.
yeah,
Recency bias at play there.
yeah. I mean, I think he definitely got. So it depends. Are you asking me if he went for too little or too much? I think he went for too little as well. Again, like as you look at how much he was potentially worth with the recency bias, I thought he could have gone for more. So
Mm.
I think Travis Head's number was actually pretty fair, given the fact that he won his team an ODI World Cup recently, but doesn't actually have a great T20I record. And so I thought it was a fair. I thought it was a fair bid, if you will.
Yeah, similarly with Pat Cummins, doesn't have a great T20 record at all,
Yeah.
actually.
So let's
But
talk
he's
about
gone for
why
20
Pat
crores.
Cummins got 20 crores and CSK only played 4 crores for a guy we're going to talk about in the second half of this show, Shardul Thakur. Do you think he went undervalued? Was that a great deal for him? He's a fast bowling all rounder according to you too.
So you're comparing Shardul with a guy who's won the
I'm not. I'm
World
asking if
Cup,
you are.
captained the team to a Ashes equaling
I'm asking
series,
if you
won
are.
the World Test Championship final, and it's I don't know. I can't remember whether he was part of the T20 World Cup when he probably was, wasn't he?
Probably.
So you're comparing that guy to Shardul Thakur.
I'm just asking if you are. Is all. It was a
I'm
question.
not. I'm clearly not.
Okay.
Like the issue is that Shardul is one of the best that India has in that sphere, which is
Yeah.
kind of sad.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't compare them. I mean, I'd even put him below, I don't know, Gerald Coetzee or someone. I think that guy's got talent with the bat as well. and we should talk about him as well.
Yeah,
I
let's
think
talk
he's a
that.
he's a good pick.
For me, we had talked about potentially start going to a Mumbai Indians because they would be looking for a quick bowler to accompany Jasprit Bumrah, and Mumbai ended up picking Gerald Coetzee. So, what is your take on that? Obviously, we'll probably see him wearing whites in the next week or so against Team India. But how do you feel about that pick? That's a pretty. You have to give credit to Mumbai. That's a great,
I
great
think
quick bowler.
Mumbai had a blinder of an auction,
Yeah,
man, and it hurts me to say this as a Delhi fan that has been burnt by Mumbai in 2020. That team is looking pretty hard to beat with the local players as well as the foreign talent that they've got at their disposal. I think Gerald Court's a great pick. I think AB de Villiers came out saying that he felt that this guy was a real serious talent for the
yeah,
future, and
yeah.
he'd bowled at him, and he was in AB's face, and it takes something to get into AB de Villiers' face, right?
Yeah,
Like, and I can see that happening though. And in the same comment, he also said Sam Curran is overpaid, which I found pretty amusing.
perfect. And let's just wrap up Mumbai really quick. Spare a thought for Dilshan Madhushankar, his country's highest wicket taker in the World Cup, and again excellent talent. And I was thinking about it with Mumbai's top seven only needing one overseas batter in Tim David. Theoretically, your bowling attack could have Bumrah, Kotse, and Madhushankar, and that is something to be reckoned with.
Yeah.
DJ, we have to talk
But they
about
don't
the
have a big name spinner though, Mumbai. So, but they've never really gone for that after Cheher. They even
yeah.
released Cheher, right?
I think so actually. Yeah.
Yeah, they've never really gone with spin Mumbai for some
No,
reason.
they've never.
Maybe the pitch they play on one kid.
Yeah. All right, DJ. Before we wrap, we have to talk about the test match. I want to quickly ask you about some of the uncapped players, right? So as we think about, yes, you expect on paper Travis Head, Mitchell Stark, Pat Cummins, Rachin. We all expected they'd get good money. A couple names. I won't talk about all of them. One, Samir Rizvi, who went to CSK, picked up 8.4, and two, Kumar Kushagra, who went to Delhi, picked up 7.2 crores. K squared. We have christened him
K2.
K2 or K squared on this show. But yeah, let's talk about the phenomenal, right? I don't know much about both these guys' upbringing, and but for any young athlete, that's life changing kind of money, and hopefully it's the start of something to come, much more over the years, and access to exposure that can get you to the Indian team, etc. But that is the magic of this IPL, right? Having these younger
Mm.
players rise to the top. How did you feel about seeing that?
Kind of nice. I think there's a Cricket Info article about who Samir Rizvi is and why he's been picked, and he's basically a replacement for Ambati Raidu that is retired because that's the hole I thought CSK needed to fill.
Yeah,
I don't know enough about K2 Bhai, but I really hope that he justifies his price. I mean, he's gone for more than Travis Head got paid, right? It's quite a lot.
yeah.
In Delhi, I'm not sure. I think we had a fairly mediocre auction. Okay. So I've not got a lot of hope for the Delhi Capitals this year, unfortunately. And since something dramatic happened in the post trade window, which I know Varun and you think that Rohit Sharma is moving to Delhi for whatever reason, but okay, we'll
Man, we have to
see.
have hope. If you don't have hope, then there's no point. You
Yeah.
absolutely need the hope. But anyway,
No, but I don't see that. I don't see that happening. But these teams have got scouts everywhere, right? They've got scouts going out all over the place, looking for young talent which they can bring in. I mean, I remember when Varun Chakravarti got picked up for 8 crores. He was the highest uncapped player ever, and now these guys are picking up
yeah,
8-ish crores pretty regularly, right? So it's kind of nice. Apparently I was reading on Twitter how this guy's I think Samir Rizvi he's a big hitter, finisher type, low middle order type of batter. And, CSK are smart, man. Like you don't become a 5-time IPL champion without having the scouts in place and stuff, right? So I also like to, just while we were on CSK, somebody asked, "Have you got a succession plan for Dhoni in place?" Of course, seeing the Rohit drama play out at Mumbai, and Stephen Fleming replied saying, "We've had a succession plan for MS in place for the last 10 years."
that's an excellent line.
But it's pretty good. I mean, we waited. How long has it been in this show since we started? 14 minutes since we spoke about Dhoni.
That's pretty
So
good. I'll
that's
give
a
you credit
new
for that.
record
I think
almost.
you're starting to get better. The longer he stays away from the game, you're starting to get better. So that's probably a good new record. Um, Congratulations to all the players who got picked up on the auctions. Congratulations to all the fans who were excited by the pickups. It's been a pretty interesting auction. And now, just like we like to do on this show, we're going to take a hard pivot and go from the swashbuckling six hitting to Test cricket. DJ is signaling to those of you watching on YouTube, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It helps us grow. We're going to take a very quick break. We'll be right back to talk about the Test series. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast. This week I'm joined by DJ, and we're going to talk about the India versus South Africa tests. So, DJ, a lot to talk about actually, right? Obviously, we will spend our time going through selection and who the 11 are. Let me start by asking you, what is the latest you've heard on Virat Kohli? Because he flew to South Africa, returned home for personal reasons, and is not yet back in South Africa, I believe. But the current headlines are still saying he's expected to be back in time for the Boxing Day test. But it is after lunch on the 24th, 2 days out. He didn't get to play the intra squad red ball warm up match with the side. What do you think? Do you think we're going to see a new number four for India, or do you think Virat's going to be back in time?
So I have no idea what you're talking about because I've just been waiting for Kohli to walk out at number four to bat for India because he didn't play the white ball series.
Yeah.
And we didn't even talk about the white ball series. That was a good
Oh,
win
that's
for
true.
India at the end.
We should give credit to Sanju Samson as well, and that of course
Yeah,
we've
got
been
a
saying,
hundred. Arshdeep took wickets,
which
ended
was
up
just
2-1.
wonderful to see.
Yeah, it was a good win. Tilak got a few runs. But I have to say, and this sounds really terrible because I felt like it was difficult again to not watch a game with Kohli in it because there's a different intensity that he brings
Yeah,
to the game.
yeah,
That that stride out to the wicket in the field, the energy is different, right? And of course, these are all great players like Tilak, Gill. Sky's not playing because he's injured, of course. Um, but who opened the batting? Yashasvi opened the batting, right?
yeah. And man, the thing is, it is different. It for sure is different,
Yeah,
and
I see. The
also,
problem is I don't even remember who opened the batting. I remember Yashasvi opened the batting in the T20 games, and I have watched these
yeah. So
games.
the ODI was Sudarshan and Patidar, right? And then Samson batted
Sudarshan, he
three,
got
which is
runs.
Samson batted
Patidar
three.
looked insane, by the way, in that one game that he played.
Yeah, yeah. He
He
started
he
so
looked like $1 million. I was like,
yeah,
wow, this guy's
yeah.
making a statement. But Samson got 100.
Samson
Um,
batted three, which Harsha has been very public about, saying that's his position, right? His You can argue that a lot of Samson's lack of success, let's call it, has been for him batting out of position. And then yeah, you had Rahul captaining the side and keeping playing at four, Tilak five, Rinku at six, and then Akshar and Sundar was the other interesting question. Is seeing Akshar seven and Sundar eight. Now they didn't have a great outing with the bat, but if they can get their act together, we've talked a lot on this show about how having somebody like a Washington Sundar at eight gives you a lot more options and a lot more balance.
mm,
And so it's nice to see the setup testing that out or trying that out. So yeah,
yeah,
good
a
good
good win
good ODI
in
win
the
in
end.
that third match. DJ, hot off the presses from the news, and Bharat Ramachandran in YouTube on our YouTube comment says Kohli is back and practicing. So he's back in South Africa. So apologies for anybody who I gave a heart attack to. I think it looks like it's
Including me.
relatively hot off. I mean, you didn't even know he left, so you've been living under a rock. I've been so
But you
nervous for
did
you.
give me the heart attack, and I'm
And
like, what?
yeah, and now it's resolved, so it's perfect. All right, so
Fake news.
no more. It was absolutely real news. He did leave, and he was expected to be back, and he's back. So that's all that matters.
Mm.
Right. Yeah, a lot of interesting stuff. Let me start by saying India A has been playing against South Africa A in some warm ups, and the two or three kind of highlights are hit. Prasidh Krishna picked up five, and Sarfaraz Khan made 68 runs. Pradosh Ranjan Paul made 160, and I was like, wow, I've not even heard about this guy in the setup in terms of his ability to potentially play Test cricket for India. But great to see. And then we mentioned him, but Shardul Thakur, I think, came in at seven and made 76 off of 98. And
Yeah.
this is going to cause us selection headaches. So how do you feel about putting him in?
Ah, I mean, this is what I
We're
was
getting
waiting for,
towards
right?
the show.
The Shardul innings. I actually followed the thing on Cricinfo when it was going on with
Yeah.
Shardul. I think it was overnight not out as well. on 75 of like 90 balls or something.
Yeah.
Um, this is the headache we end up with, right? So
Hmm.
let's go through the. So this is the first series in the post Purane era, which
Post
sounds
Purane
weird.
era.
Post
Yeah.
Purane, right?
So in the Naya era, right?
Naya Daur.
Naya Daur. That's it. Where we should not be advertising right away.
So who are we opening with? Rohit is going to open with
So
Yashasvi.
let's think about this though, right? The last time we played a test, Rohit opened with Yashasvi. Yashasvi had tremendous success.
Mm.
The player who did not have success was the opener who got pushed into number three, and that was Shubman Gill. He struggled at number three
Shabazz.
against the West Indies. Now, we can sit here and ask whether he is trying to make that his spot. That's going to be the spot where he could arguably bet for the next 12, 15 years if that's luck. But he didn't have a great West Indies tour at number three. So it sounds like you are saying they will stick to the plan from the West Indies, Rohit and Yashasvi with Gill at three.
Yeah, I think they
Okay.
will. I think long term Gill has to drop down, right?
Yeah.
Eventually. So I think he made his way into the team as an opener, but he's not a
Yeah.
natural opener. And particularly, well, he did well in Australia as an opener. Remember that knock in Brisbane,
Yeah.
magnificent 91.
Yeah.
Um, so in theory, he should be pretty good on South African tracks as well. He hasn't really lit this series up, the white ball series up, um, and he struggled a little bit. There was one where he reviewed where he shouldn't have. Then the next
Yeah.
one he didn't review when he should have. So he struggled a little bit, but I almost think that he should bat three, and we should give him a bit of a rope at three because it's been vacated
He's
now,
earned it.
right?
Yeah, and he's earned
Yeah,
it.
I mean,
Let's give
of
him
course,
that.
no
Yeah.
doubt about it. The question is, who are the other openers in the squad? And I think Ruturaj is in the squad, isn't he?
Ruturaj is in the squad, but
He's a natural opener.
but does he get a look ahead of a Yashasvi, or you're saying a backup potentially?
I think as a backup, I think
Okay.
Yashasvi is he scored 100 on debut, right? And I don't know, he probably averages more than more than 75 in Test cricket in his 2 3 games that he's played.
Yeah.
He's got a good pull shot. He's got a good back foot game. Um, I would start with Yashasvi because
Actually,
he's
I'm
a
sorry.
young.
We should also recall Ruturaj was out, I think, injured, and Abhimanyu Ishwaran is now in, so he's
Okay.
slotted into the squad there.
So fair enough. So then I don't think there's a discussion around it. I think Yashasvi and Rohit open.
Okay, so you're
Gill
saying
three.
Gill three, Rohit four, never a question. Then, as you look
And
at,
not Gill, not Rohit four. Kohli
I'm
four.
sorry, what did I say? I said Kohli four.
Yeah.
They're the same to me,
And
clearly.
this is the scene, remember, that of Kohli's downfall as a captain. This is
Yeah.
the last series that he captained in Test cricket.
Mhm.
They were up 1-0. They'd won the first Test match. They lost the next two. Dean Elgar, Bavuma, Keegan Peterson. So I have pretty dire memories from
Yeah.
the start of
Not great.
22
Not
actually.
great. Yeah.
And then Kohli was sacked
Yeah.
as Test captain. And I again lost a bit of interest in, in Test cricket for
Yeah.
a while, but obviously it's a
But
great
he's
game. So you come
back,
back.
and he is
And he's back and he'll be willing to
in the
wanting to prove a point. He was screaming into stump mics last time around about how the whole nation was against
You love
them,
that.
and
That's your favorite picture.
it was one of the greatest moments ever where Ashwin and KL and these guys went into the stump mic and started
Yeah.
yelling at Super Sport. Uh, but he'll be back and he'll have a point to prove. He hasn't scored, I don't know what his average is in South Africa. He scored 100 at least, I know. Um, but I don't think he's been as successful in South Africa as in Australia because the ball tends to seam as well as bounce. Whereas Australia is kind of a bit flatter. There's bounce, but not as much lateral movement, so sideways movement. So I think Kohli will be out to prove a point there. Then
Yeah.
comes the
So I'm
interesting
just trying to
question.
pull up his test average is 49.3. His average in South Africa is 51.3. He has two hundreds and three half centuries in 14 innings. So it's
Okay, then
not
I've
bad.
misspoken. No,
Yeah.
it's not. 50 plus is great, right? Like I've
I mean,
misspoken
with
then.
14 innings is not a huge sample size compared to the 25 innings where
Mm,
he averages 54 in Australia. Interestingly, he averages 36 in New Zealand, but that's only off of four matches.
mm.
43 in Sri Lanka and 14.75 in Bangladesh. So Bangladesh is the
Oh, it's
only.
weak spot.
Basically, he doesn't even go. He doesn't play there.
Yeah, he doesn't play those. No, but he'll be wanting to play. Now, that brings us to the very interesting number five spot.
Yeah.
So,
So
who's your
let
number five
let's
in this
just let's
squad?
just jump ahead quickly then, because you're basically saying seven will be Jadeja, and we're saying from there on you have Bumrah and Siraj guaranteed,
Yeah, because
basically.
Shami is injured, right?
Because
Shami's not
Shami
playing.
is injured. So Bumrah and Siraj are guaranteed. So your question then is two batters, including a keeper at 5 and 6, and two other bowlers, right? So your top four are set. For me, 5 and 6, likely, this may not be the popular opinion, will be Shreyas and KL, maybe in backwards order. So I think, to the point Varun tried to make, KL is trying to establish himself as a middle order batter who can keep in all three formats. He has done a stellar job. We've talked about his improvements as a keeper with the white ball. I think it'll be very interesting. But to me, if you can bat with either Shreyas or KL at 6, you're giving yourself options. To me, actually, Shreyas is a non-negotiable, and that might be famous last words. I think he walks into the side in Test cricket. And so then your discussion is KS Bharat as the other keeper. Do you play him to get slightly better keeping abilities, or do you leave out Rahul? Do you play Rahul and KS Bharat at 5 and 6 with Jadeja to come in at 7? That's the kind of first question mark. DJ, what do you think? Who is your 5 and 6
So I would actually. The
at five?
question is,
Okay,
can he keep at five? Question is whether he can keep wicket. He's been a
yeah,
designated wicketkeeper in one first-class match so far in his
yeah,
career.
yeah, yeah.
And test keeping in Test cricket is a very different kettle of fish from
It's a
keeping
different
in a
beast,
one-day game
completely
or a
different beast.
T20 game, right? And it's you drop a catch in Test cricket, it can haunt you for 4 days, the next four
Especially with
days,
the lateral movement, like you talked about.
and
He
the
is not
bounce.
easy to
He's
keep out.
worked on his keeping though, so
He
that's
has,
been a really good
he
sign.
has, yeah,
So and he's keen to do it, and I think he let it slip as well that he wants to keep in all three formats. So I would, and KL has been really good in um, Test cricket ever since he made his way back into the England series in 2021, and he scored hundreds and he did well as an opener. But this is a different point, right? Like he's going to be batting in the middle order. Now the other option is Ishan Kishan, he's the incumbent now. For me, that is going to be. Do you pick Kishan? Pick a left-handed kind of left-handed attacking keeper who can bat as well
yeah.
as
So
Rahul,
I
or do you
actually
go?
think I'm looking at the squad on Cricinfo and it says withdrawn next to his name. So there's a possibility
Oh,
Kishan has been withdrawn from the squad. So if anybody in the
okay.
panel
So
knows the latest on that in YouTube, we would love to see that. But yeah, it looks like Ishan Kishan has been
i-
withdrawn.
in
Oh,
which
it looks
case it
like
doesn't leave a whole
the
lot
news
of
is
choice, right?
reporting that he is asked to take a break. Mental fatigue has prompted Kishan to take a break from Test cricket. I'm just clicking
Yeah,
this live
but
from
then that
YouTube.
leaves
So
Bharat and it leaves Bharat and Rahul
yeah,
vying
yeah,
for the job. And I mean, if Iyer is going to play, I'm not. So this will be his test for me. Iyer,
yeah,
bouncy tracks, fast bowlers, tall bowlers hitting the deck. They will be going hard at him. They will be loading up
yeah,
that leg side.
yeah,
There'll be two men out at all points and a short leg and a leg slip, and it's going to be a trial by fire. So I hope
yeah,
Iyer is in the nets practicing his back foot play.
yeah.
Um, and then Rahul is the natural choice to take the gloves, right? I don't think Bharat is a long term option.
Okay, so you're sort of in agreement with me on Shreyas
Yeah,
and
yeah, we
Rahul
are.
as
But I
five.
would bat Rahul at five instead of.
Sure, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you walk into, like we said, Jadeja 7, Bumrah Siraj not 8 and 9, but 4 of 8 through 11. And then your natural questions are South Africa reports, and this may be part of the mind games that make the South Africa India series so brilliant, where they're seeing comments from Introspect about stump mics, etc., being loud and getting another thriller. But South Africa is already starting to report news about playing four quicks, or playing all quicks is what the news has said. And if you have Rabada, Ingidi, Kotse in form and stuff, you can play a fantastic quick lineup from South Africa, or it fully fit if they're all fully fit. What do you do with the last two bowling spots, DJ? I think your question one, Prasid picked up 5, so looking good. Mukesh Kumar has become an all format bowler for India as well, as we talked on the show. And then you always come to that perennial question that we struggled in with a World Test Championship final before: is do you leave out one of the current playing highest wicket takers of all time in Ravi Ashwin, and one of the most decorated spinners of all time? And do you leave him out because you need to pick up the fourth quick bowling option in the absence of a quick bowling all rounder? So what do you do for your two remaining bowling spots?
So I would go with. a Prasid Krishna,
Yeah.
tall, hit the deck, and we struggled against Janssen last time. Tall, hit the deck, difficult to play, awkward to play. So I would play the three quicks I would play would be Bumrah, Siraj, and Prasid. Shardul isn't, I mean, for me, he's not in the conversation really. The problem with that is when we go abroad, we like playing four quicks, one of whom can bat a little bit. And Jadeja is the sole all rounder. So I can't see us changing that.
Yeah.
And that comes down to the quality of the all rounder we have. And that's Shardul. And if you had a Pandya, just imagine how that changes the balance of this team.
It's unbelievable.
And the last time we went there, Pandya did really well. He scored a 93 at Cape Town and he got wickets. He got Markram out. Was that the last time? No, it was the time before
Would
last.
have been before, yeah.
Yeah, and it's the quality of that fourth seamer, right? And that is where we fall short of. So we will play Shardul again. I can't see this management changing
Yeah.
this formula that they have. I can't see Ashwin walking into this side in South Africa alongside Jadeja. We will just not do that.
Yeah.
But I think those are the four quicks that I would play. Jadeja obviously in a holding role and can bat, and then you back your boys to do the job. But it's the formula that has worked a little bit, but it kind of depends on Shardul performing with the bat and the ball, which of the last two games in England he hasn't done. The World Test Championship
Hmm.
final and the one-off test that India lost. Both of which he walked in ahead of Ashwin.
But he just made 76 in South Africa. So that has to count. It wasn't against the
South
17 national
Africa
side.
is real South Africa.
I know, but
So,
it's.
so
I, I,
this is a red letter day. You're backing Shardul to make the team.
I'm not attacking him in terms of what I would like to see necessarily happen. We're talking about what we think will happen. And
Yeah,
for
it
me,
will happen, and
yeah,
that's the thing. And if Pandya was there, just an all round of the quality of Pandya was there. Just imagine that.
yeah, we got to,
It
we got to,
it lengthens your batting. It gives you a guy who can come in as a fourth seamer, maybe pick up a wicket or two, and
yeah.
so
Given that you
different.
have Jadeja, who's good enough to bat at seven, you don't even need to be a great batter. I think if you're a seamer who can bat a little bit at eight, somebody Shardul esque, but not Shardul, you would walk into the side. You would
Yeah,
just absolutely walk into the side. All right.
but the only guy
So
left then is Mukesh Kumar, right?
yeah, so for me, actually, I don't. I think Bumrah, Siraj, and Shardul at eight are confirmed. I think they will give Mukesh a serious look. I think Prasid's five against South Africa will help him, and I'm with you. I actually personally would back Prasid. I do think for the bounce, I do think Mukesh is the most like Shami in terms of his swing, but he's not as quick. But he's just not as quick, and so that threat
Yeah,
of
you don't need that if you're playing. If you're playing Shardy,
yeah.
you don't need a guy who's the dibbly dobbly,
So
right?
I think I'm with you on the verdict that Prasid will get his chance, but I think they will look very seriously at Mukesh in the nets to see what kind of option he brings as well. And so I think Ash sits on the bench as well. DJ, two
Sad.
test matches. I know you had to run to catch your cab to the airport as well, so we'll wrap this up here. But two test matches, one at the Centurion, one at Cape Town. What is the prediction? The final frontier. Will Rohit and his men conquer it, or how is the series going to end up? And as you're thinking about that, I'll hit some of the comments that are coming in that are relevant. Introspect says we're struggling to bowl sides out in the fourth innings. That'll be tested. And Rahul's real test will probably be keeping in India. He can manage overseas potentially, which is interesting, which makes sense on spin. And yeah, lots of great other comments. Jitin shared early on, for me, if the batsmen try to get in and look to defend or leave the new ball, you're allowing bowlers to settle and they'll consistently bowl in good areas. I'd like to see the batters advance down the track early, force the South African bowlers to
In
bring back
South
their leg.
Africa, that's a
Yeah,
bit harsh.
force them to bring
It's going
back
to
their
be in
leg.
your neck.
Yeah, so he also said the ball will undoubtedly move around in these conditions. It'll seam and swing, nicking off or getting trapped in front to an incoming ball, and then saying it was a good ball isn't good enough. So high bar
So
coming in
yeah.
from Ritin. But yeah, let's come back to
So
the
I've
question.
had my think. I think it's going to be another 1-1
That was going to be my prediction.
tied series.
Yeah, I think we're going to
And
win.
the reason for that is like an all-time great Indian batting lineup has gone to South Africa and come undone,
Yeah,
right? Like multiple times.
yeah,
Our best shot was probably 2011, the Dale Steyn versus Sachin battle, if you remember that, at Cape Town 146, and
yeah.
not out and Steyn got 5 for. It's a tough place to go and play cricket and win and come back. And
Listen, 1-1 means you won a test and drew the series and shared points. So,
yeah,
I mean, that's a
but we won a
phenomenal
test
result.
every time we've gone there for the
Yeah,
last few times, other
yeah,
than I think in
yeah.
2014 where they nearly chased 450 at Joburg. Um, but we won a test. Rahul Dravid actually captained the time we won the first test. Srishant was the bowler, if you remember, 2006, if I'm not wrong.
Gosh, your memory is
But
amazing, man. But yeah,
we've done well after that. Usually, we won a single test, but it's taken more from us to get a second test win under the belt. And last time was probably our best shout of that to win the series. Now that it's a two-test series, I can't see the India winning both test matches or even winning one and drawing one. I suspect it's going to be 1-1.
yeah, couldn't agree more. That brings us to a wrap. I also am calling it 1-1. I hope that, it's at least 1-1. I hope we at least win one test. At 2-0 or even 1-0 result would be phenomenal. DJ, thank you for joining me. Busy time of year. Safe travels. I know you head out shortly, and I'm
I've
going to be
just
getting.
got my arriving in 4 minutes.
There we go. I'll be getting on a
So,
plane here in a
yeah.
couple of days to get back to India as well. So it'll be great to see Varun. I won't get to see you this trip, but we will probably record a podcast or do something next week, maybe after the first test match. We'll see how that goes. Thank you everybody for joining. I know everybody's got stuff going on. This is the Edges of Sledge Cricket podcast. We're at one to one hand on all the social networks. We will see you after the first match against South Africa, first test match against South Africa. Thank you as always for joining us.
Merry Christmas, guys.
And Merry Christmas.